Fed Chairman Powell continues to hammer the square into the circle peg, talking about they're not even thinking about raising interest rates. They're not even thinking about interest rates till 2022. So I think that message he continues to reiterate, that is injecting a lot of confidence in the market. But to your point earlier, you keenly noted, everything is up this quarter. Everything is up. The only thing that's down, Sully, is your weight. You are looking lean and mean, my friend.
Jeff, I'm actually down to 40 pounds in the last 9 months, all due to... Good
for you.
Yeah, so thank you very much for... listen, I normally don't... I'm just going to say it because I'm proud of it, so thank you very much, Jeff. I appreciate that, buddy. You know what? When we look at the charts, and you sent me some charts, by the way, of the markets yesterday, I mean, you look at the moving averages, look at some of the technical indicators, it does appear that we are at kind of an inflection point on the S&P 500. What's your take on the path of least resistance for equities?
Well, great point. And we talk about this move back. And we can talk about the move in March to the downside, potentially being a little exaggerated. When we saw that low on March 23rd, we're seeing a sensational move higher, nearly 48% higher in the S&P 500. But if you look at the charts, look at the 50-day and 200-day moving average on the S&P 500, we do have some constructiveness. We are seeing support. We've seen a lot of retests. And this is healthy, Sully. When you see the market consolidate and continue to retest these moving averages, it allows the market to grind higher. But let's talk about this quarter. It's been a fascinating quarter. To say the least, we had a little bit of volatility. That's the understatement of 2020, Sully. But look at this sector rotation. I talk a lot about sector rotation. We run a lot of ETF model portfolios, focus on sector rotation, and that's really critical to understand that you need exposure to certain S&P 500 sectors and subsectors, but more importantly, staying away from some of these sectors. So we talk about what did we sell? In the Q2 of 2020, we sold financials. We also saw us sell utilities and REITs. Those were three sectors we got rid of. And what did we buy, Sully? In the month of March, we bought biotech. We also bought energy. So there's some relative strength in some of these subsectors, but it's critical moving forward to be a stock picker or a sector tilter as we see Q3 and Q4 unwind in 2020.
Is biotech kind of a vaccine hope trade, or is it more that if you look at every sector out there, it's unlikely that healthcare spending is going to go down anytime soon? It's probably the only sector we might be able to say that affirmatively about, aside from like computer networking.
Well, that's right. And if you look at the ETF XLV, that's a broad swath to healthcare. But if we're more focused on biotech, look at IBB. IBB gives you a broad swath to Gilead, Regeneron, Horizon Therapeutics, a lot of these names that have this global sense of urgency, and maybe they're not specifically focused on a vaccine, but high tide lifts all boats. So we get excited about that, but let's not forget technology. Technology has been the darling yet again this year, but we're focused on software. Look at Salesforce, look at Adobe, look at Palo Alto Networks. Some of these names, Sully, that we want to continue to move forward with this new normal. In the wake of COVID-19, software continues to attract assets.
Are you still buying energy, or do you think the run is done? We just talked about basically a doubling of oil prices in the quarter, although that's not hard when you go from, 1 to 2.
Correct. If you look at XLE, yes, it's had a fantastic run the last couple months, but overall on the year, it's still one of the worst sectors out there. But we still own energy from a technical perspective. We utilize a lot of relative strength, and technically, it's showing more and more strength. So we're sticking with it, Sully. We're not harvesting any gains or jumping off the ship yet.